All right, I think we are live. Hello, 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 hello. I am Lala Angela Wayne. Welcome to episode 2 of Range Woman, the variety show. And this is my very first interview. So to be honest, I'm actually really excited and nervous all at the same time. I've got the amazing Wendy Jasper with me, a fellow generator in human design reading. So if we get really excited, that's normal. So just a little bit about Wendy to start with, and also I'm just going to have a look on my Facebook to make sure that we're all set up and that you guys can see us. Because technology sometimes, even though they're quick, it takes a little while to catch up at times. Let's just have a look. There we are. Okay. Oh, that was my hand there. We're going to share. Ta-da. I just realized the way that I set up my phone this morning, Wendy. It's on my left-hand side. I don't normally type with my left hand, so I'm pretty impressed. So Wendy, wow, I think we met earlier this year post-COVID, and that's when everyone starts to jump online and getting to know each other, and we start to have, I think the online community really embraced the internet and Facebook. So I haven't known Wendy for long, but I know her energy is just amazing. Like whenever you're in a room, I'm going to say room because I never met her in person, you can just feel her energy across the screen. Look at that smile. So Wendy is actually an Aussie who's moved to Wellington, New Zealand. And I'm going to be asking you about that because I'm dying to ask you that question. And she is an artist, a mentor, and also an up-and-coming author. She's in the process of writing her book, which I'm really excited, The Abundant Artist. So I'm going to start by asking this question because I'm dying. I'm a fellow Kiwi. And I know a lot of Kiwis move from New Zealand to Australia. In fact, this morning I was actually in tears this morning. The first flight from New Zealand came through to the state of New South Wales about a week ago. And all those photos, just like, oh my God, all these people have not seen their family for ages. So my question to you, Wendy, is what's up with an Aussie wanting to move to New Zealand, and not to mention the worst city in a whole country, like the windiest city, Wellington? Why? What's up with that?
Why? Well, it's sort of quite interesting in the fact that the way I'd say it to Kiwis, this is what I say to Kiwis. Well, for every 100 Kiwis that go to Australia, one Australian has to come back, and we got the short straw. So that's what I tell the Kiwis.
Hey, Australian only sends the heavyweights, right? So one of you, all of the Kiwis.
Totally. Well, it was very much we were lost a bit in Australia. We lived in Canberra. So my husband and I got together, but we got married down the south coast that I loved. But his work is IT. He works for IT, but it's not just computers. He makes the internet go. So that means living in a city. I love bush nature around me. That's not living in a city. And we lived we're in Canberra, and we weren't working. It wasn't gelling, and we'd lived in Sydney pre-kids. We didn't want to go back to Sydney because it was just it was hard to live in Sydney. So then we went to Perth, which is where I was born, and I'd always wanted to live there. And I loved it there, but he couldn't cope. It was 6 months, no rain. He spent his first 4 years in Scotland, so he likes the rain. And Perth, definitely, it is a desert. You have 6 months, no rain, and he wasn't getting the jobs that he loved. And so we travelled Australia for 9 months, and it was really interesting because we travelled with a tent. Like, why did we think not a caravan? We did a tent, put a tent up every night with 2 young kids at that stage. And so we travelled Australia looking for where's home. And it's like all these country spots and these little communities we loved, but it wasn't the work. And it was this, do we go? And so we were just trying to make it work and trying to figure out, do we go to Melbourne? I'd lived there in my teens. Do we go to Melbourne? Do we go to, we're just trying to find where to go. Where's our place? And Phil I went to Wellington once in New Zealand, and we like all the Kiwis we want. Should we try that? And it was one of those things that everything immediately just ridiculously fell into place. It just like, and was like 6 weeks later, we were here. And
wow.
and then he got a job doing something that he really loved, that he wanted, which was working on an internet with an internet provider on the internet. So I think my son wants to say goodbye to me. So I'm just going to go, Yoshi, do you want to say goodbye? He's going off to school. You can go and say goodbye.
Hello.
Okay. No, I don't know where your shoes are. You probably left them at school. So yeah, it's okay. He often goes with no shoes to school, which is one of the reasons, by the way. Go to school with no shoes, and they're just so chilled and don't mind. No, and that's what we have loved here. It's very laid back. It's laid back. And, we're currently living on 3 acres of 3 acres we're just looking at a countryside, we're just everywhere. There's a little town, 5-minute walk, or we catch the train an hour into town. And it's like, I just don't think you can get that anywhere else in the world without paying millions of dollars. Usually can't get that with an hour from a city. And that's what drew us here. And yes, I do miss Australia dreadfully. So it's a constant, tear, because families in Australia, kangaroos, the weather's in Australia. I struggle with the weather. My husband loves this weather. It's his perfect weather. He doesn't even mind the wind.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like I can get the Scotland and Wellington connection. Yeah. So the first time I went to Wellington.
This is charming. That's right. I think so many English people love it here because it's so nice weather compared to London.
Well, Wellington, when it's nice, it's actually really nice. Like when on a not windy day, when there's like,
it's phenomenal.
Sun, it's beautiful. Yeah.
But
so
yeah, summer is just so short. Yeah. And so the other thing that drove us to Wellington, we're going Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, which are the 3 main cities in New Zealand. And we're going, which one? It's like Auckland's really big. And we're like, yeah, not so into big cities. And because we thought we'd have to be so far out to get any land. And Christchurch was very flat and Wellington was hilly and we love the hills. And then Wellington was known for its art scene. That's what it was known for. It was the creative capital. And we sort of came from Canberra, which in some ways was known as being quite an uncreative capital. It's not now, but it was back 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And so, yeah, the creative capital is what brought us here because, yeah, that's my love is the arts, creativity, yeah.
It suits you so well, like, anyone who's been to Wellington, you'll know everywhere you go, there's always art. And it's, I don't know, even though I asked the question, I kind of deep down, I was like, yeah, I can see like Wellington is like the place of your heart and like where all your creativity lies. So tell me about who is Wendy Jasper as an artist, as a mentor, as a up and coming book writer. Who are you? For those of us who don't know who
interesting, it's me claiming myself as an artist. It's who I've been all my life. Like I am creativity. That's what I love. That's what I love doing. Anything creative is what excites me. Yet I didn't claim myself to be an artist probably till about a year and a half ago. It was like, oh, I'm a wannabe artist. I'm a want to be. I would like to be. It's like, but I didn't claim it because I always thought I wasn't good enough, that they're the professional artists. Yes, I'm a wannabe. And I didn't claim that part of me. Yet anyone who knows me, like even when my business partner, she said to me, and I think this was the tipping point, she said to me probably 2 years ago, she goes, you're the most creative person I've ever known. You're just so creative in everything you do. And I'm like, oh, yeah, deflect. And then she's like, no, I mean, it was really good. It was one of those ones that showed me so clearly how I just deflected the compliment and she just called me out. I went, no, you're not deflecting this one. And, something that really sat with me. And it's like, well, yeah, I am. That is who I am. Like, I know that, but I was still sort of not owning it. And that's definitely last year and a half is fully owning it and fully, I was even selling prints of my paintings before that, and I was selling some of my jewelry and I was selling some of my stuff I was making, but it was on the low.
I so get that. For me, it's like my spirituality. I've only really just claimed my witchy witch self But all my friends are like, you are creative, and you are a witchy witch, you are spiritual. I'm like, oh no, it's only been a year. I can't compare myself. It's almost like that comparing side of us. It's like, who am I to actually say that
I'm not good enough to claim that yet. I've got to be at this level before I can claim. Totally. I mean, yeah, and look, that was the same as me coming online to teach. I've been an entrepreneur coming up to 3 decades. I had my first business when I was 20. I had my first video production business. And out there, my little camera, or it'd be quite a big camera back then. It was like a big camera, and I was filming. And so I've been an entrepreneur in so many different fields. And probably for about 5...
Oh, I think we've just lost Wendy a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm back. So I need to start teaching. And it's because I think it's gone on. No, it's on my... Don't know, it's on my... technology it is what it is. So, I've been around a bit. It's like, I've got stuff to teach. And I would get really triggered by people who have been like, I've had a business for a year now. I'm a business coach, and that would be really activating me. And I'd think activate, like, how dare they? I wasn't claiming it. I was waiting for someone to ordain me, like, Wendy, you are now worthy of teaching. You can now teach. You have done enough. I don't know what it was, but like, you are now knighted and teachable. Yeah, I was waiting for it. I was getting activated by all these people who were saying, I'm a business coach. It's like, you've had a business for a year, or you've had one business. I've had 2 businesses. Have you failed in business yet? Because you learn way more in failing than you do in
your CV business.
Exactly. And it was, and it got to a point. It's like, well, it was really that point. It's like, well, when are you gonna step up, Wendy? Because no one's gonna tell you you're ready. You're ready to be an artist. You're ready to be a business coach. You're ready, and it doesn't matter what course or what bit of paper. Because I hear the same from people who, gone into coaching and they've done all the certification, but they're still waiting to be ready to step up and do it. And I think this is something in general, and I'm being generous now, but men don't have this same challenge. Like, my husband would go, well, if you want to do it, do it. Like, he didn't get that internal challenge of feeling ready, feeling ordained, feeling like I could do it now. I'm experienced, qualified enough. And so that was definitely a big part of that journey, was just owning it and stepping up. And
you have had some very interesting jobs. So tell me about your top 3 that you think that really stuck with you. Go like, well, that's kind of weird and wonderful. I would be sitting on my rocking chair and tell my grandkids one day.
Okay, I had definitely interesting jobs. I've drove sheep on horseback through central rural Australia. So that was horseback and just making the sheep go, and then would camp up at night and cook over a fire. It was 3-week job, but it was probably the most phenomenal 3 weeks. It was just like waking up at sunrise, and it was amazing. It was such an experience, and it was one of those magic opportunities, because at the same time I was reading a book. They had a book and they said, you should, and they were just such, like, you pigeonhole people, they were very just guy and girl who were doing it, quite a bit rough. And they said, hey, read this book. And it was about, I don't even know what the book is, but it was one of the most phenomenal books that I've read about, the intelligence of animals and how sentient animals can be sentient being, and this person's relationship with a fly and someone else with a dog who had the wisdom. It was just this book about people's experience with these animals that went beyond and beyond. And I was like, so this whole 3 weeks driving on horseback, reading this book, it was just like one of these magical moments of your life that you were given. It's like, thank you, like, never to be repeated. But it was an amazing.
What took you onto that path to go on a horseback?
I was working, which leads me to the other weird job, the only job I've ever been fired from, which was my parents were out living out in Narrandera, which rural New South Wales, and they had a hotel there that they'd bought. So they'd left Canberra and they bought a hotel there, and they were running that. And so I was staying with them. I wanted some work. I went and got a job in Griffith, which is half an hour ago. I was working in a winery, and my job was every day for 8 hours a day. Yes, the label straight. Yes, the label straight. Yes, the label straight. Yes, the label straight.
That is so artistic.
That's all I got to do. And then if the label's not straight, the label's not straight, and then you've got to run over, press a button to stop the production line, and then soak them. And because I pressed because sometimes you just get an odd one that you can take out. And because I pressed it took me too long to press the button, I got told that my aptitude wasn't quite up to the job and that they should let me go. And so I just think it was my guys, angels looking after me, because I think I was in it for about 4 weeks. And once again, it was like, oh my goodness, this is just driving me crazy. It was just,
sorry, Wendy, I think we've just lost you a little bit there. So I'm just going to wait.
And then they wouldn't let me get the job stacking the boxes because I wasn't male.
Hey, I can be on a horseback, but I can't stack boxes. Huh.
So that's when I failed that job. I called up my parents. I got fired. I was probably, 21, 22 at the time. And they said, we just had someone call in today looking for someone to do horseback driving, and that's how then I went, okay, let's just jump onto that, like perfect timing. And I had the most amazing, went from the worst job ever to one of the most phenomenal, crazy jobs. It was such a great experience.
Which kind of makes sense. I can kind of see the linkage now from horseback riding and obviously being camping and everything to now living in kind of the rural side of Wellington. Tell me about the sunrise quest that you do every morning. I've seen you doing it. I know you passed your 1 year mark. How did it start? What is this really all about?
So, sunrise quest, I do it every morning. It takes between 2 and 10 minutes, depending on the weather, how cold it is, how hard it is, or how nice, how long I stay out doing
it. Rain, hail, or sun, right?
Rain, hail. Yeah, I think I've missed in the year and few months I've done it. I think I've missed about 3. 3 that I haven't done, and bare feet too. I even learned bare feet on the frost because it was totally -1 ground. I don't know what that is.
I don't know how you do it. Because I did one day, I saw you do it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it today. It's a rainy morning in Sydney, middle of winter, 10 degrees maybe. Okay, 3 maybe, worst case. I was like, I lasted a minute. I was like, how does Wendy do it barefoot every morning?
Doing it consistently, and as it gets colder, my body just adjusts, and it doesn't feel so weird. And I think also being outside in the weather every day, it's made, and just being in the elements, it's sort of my body sees it differently. I still go, yes, this is cold, but I don't go, yes, this is cold, stop it. I don't want this. I want to run away. There's not a fight against whatever the feeling is, or realistically, my feet on the frost often I'd only last a minute or 2, and then I'd put my slippers on. But I still could. Some days I could stay there for 3 or 4 minutes on the frost. It wouldn't be an issue. It's just, I fought it less. So it started because I wanted to transition from my brick and mortar business. I had a business for the last, now 13 years roughly in Wellington, and it'd been a really successful business for my business partner. But I wanted to move on to the online space. And and that business had been, I loved my I had a market, a large-scale weekly market. I had pop-up villages in Wellington, like artists, designers in little studios on the waterfront. And it was a great business, but it had run my life a bit. Business had dominated my life a bit rather than a co-creative experience together. Symbiotic. Yeah, it wasn't symbiotic. For a bit, for a while, I'd been wanting to get out of it. I'd been going, okay, my work here is done. It's like I'm ready to move on. But I was having trouble breaking into the online space. And it's like I'd take 2 steps forward, then I'd be 2 steps back fully. I'd try it and then go, not getting traction, try it. And it's like, because I'd done in-person business courses and got such good responses, and I'd done in-person stuff and was great. But going onto the online as a brand, as a self-brand, I was not ready for the difference that was going to be. Having had so many different businesses, as I said, in nearly 30 years, I could show up in so many different groups. Public speak, not an issue. Business plan, let's make a business plan this afternoon for someone, not an issue. But going online was very different because you were a brand, not a business. And I hadn't had the experience of being a self-brand. And I wasn't ready for a lot of the things that threw in my face. It was I think a lot of people don't get the difference that it is a self-brand. I mean, in my business, I had staff that were out the front. I could work on the bits that I wanted. I worked on building the business. I worked on promoting it. I worked on making sure our systems and structures, I love that, were all, flowing smoothly. And I had staff to do the other part, and I managed the staff, but it wasn't me being the front of the brand. Whereas when I went online, it was like I could sell stuff. If I had to sell, markets or sell events, I could sell to different stakeholders why they want to get involved with us.
And now you have to sell yourself.
When I had to sell myself, it was I was not expecting that bigger hurdle. I was not expecting that bigger. Oh my God, this is so hard. Which is why it took me 2 years of trying. And I wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't know what. I'm an intelligent businesswoman. Why is this hard for me? In some ways, it's easier for people that have no business experience because you don't have that expectations. You don't have. Whereas I was coming someone who was at the top of my field, an expert, and going into environment and feeling totally newbie, naive, and I didn't like that feeling. It's like, hang on, this isn't who I am and how I show up. So it was a real, so it was like this roller coaster trying to get going online for nearly 2 years by myself. And then I got my coach, Jana Kingsford, who, I was also my coach. Symbiotic, synchronistic events led to that. It's like, because we'd known each other for a while online, but we hadn't connected in the same way. And some beautiful, things that just led together. And I went, okay, this is it. It was like the lights lit up and went, this is your answer. And it was. And so I went to a retreat with her last September in Australia when we could still travel. Once upon a time when we could travel. So I went to a retreat, and what blew me away was, and it's funny because you talk about this at the start, owning your witchiness. I've been involved in like some Wiccan covens as well as a solitary witch since I was probably early 20s. It's been something that's there. The rituals have been there, the full moons, seasonal, but sometimes I'd let them go. Motherhood took over and I'd stopped, and then I'd remembered and I'd bring these things up. And then I go to this retreat with Jana, and it was phenomenal because she did some of the things that I would have done in the more ritual aspect, and she did it for herself in business, and she integrated in a way that I hadn't seen before. And it was just like, oh my goodness, she used nature to elevate her energy every day so then she could be the best person online. And she brought nature. She connected those two things. Me, who loved nature, who loved ritual, who loved, all these aspects, and was trying to make it online. And she used these tools that I valued so much to help her show up online. And it was like, wow. That was the sort of wow moment. Yes, she's the right coach for me. And that was a wow moment. And one of the things we did, we did a few different things, but one of the things we did, she did some different sunrise stuff, using the sunrise to connect to you, to connect into your body, and then to connect to your money goals for the day. And it's like and I was like, wow, using these things for your money, using these. So she made it real and tangible rather than my spirituality was something over here. And, my love of nature was over here, and my business was, she brought them together. And so I saw the power of it. I just felt the power of it. I was like, this is a tool that is going to make a difference. And then she also, quests answer questions. So generally you go on a quest for a certain amount of days, and you go on a quest to go, on a question. Like she started it by doing a sunrise quest for, I think, 90 days, or I can't remember how long her son, that's what it was. Or she was going to the beach every morning. She made a thing with the kids to go to the beach every morning for a certain amount of time. And that transformed her life because it answered the question of what's next in her life. And so I went, okay, I've been trying to make it online for so long. How can I find this way forward? This was my question. How can I move forward, have $20,000 days, but have it be ease, have it be in balance, have it me being fully me, not me pushing, hustling, working my butt off. I wanted to find this way that I was seeing other people live, seeing other people do it. It's like, but I couldn't quite get the bridge. So that was the question for my quest. And then I started doing, my sunrise. Initially it was for 33 days and that was hard. I was the first person to say, I'm not a morning person. I would have been the first person to say that. So I knew that I was asking something of myself was hard, but I also get, unless we really stretch out of our comfort zone, we don't get these amazing answers that we're looking for. So I was stretching myself out of my comfort zone. I was connecting with the earth, connecting with myself, connecting with my guides, angels, whatever you want. It was, and it was this ritual every morning. And after 33 days, I was going, I don't have my answer yet, but I'm starting to really like this. And so then I went for 111 days. And then at 111 days, it's like, I don't have my answer yet, but I liked how I was being. Because what happened is during this stage, we got told that our venue of our market, we could no longer have it. We got told that we had to close down. We had 3 months to close down our market. And so not just our business is getting closed down, but we're talking of hundreds of other businesses we have to close down that we've been nurturing, some of them for 10 years. We've been their livelihood. And this was heartbreaking. This was, one of the hardest thing I've ever had to do in business was, front up to a meeting of all these people and say, it's the end. This is it. Your livelihood stopped. You've got to find something else. And so having these sunrise activations became my anchor. They're like, because I'd suffered depression before, I've had that in my past, and I was worried I was going to go back to that. But the sunrise activations are my anchor. They reminded me who I be. They reminded me who I am. They connected me to the earth. I'm part of the earth. I'm a spiritual being. It reminded me all of that at the start of every day. And I kept that question going. How do I create this online business with ease? And for me, it was specifically, how do I have a 20,000 day with ease? How do I have a 20,000 day that's just flow and balance and I just get to be me? And so it just kept evolving and became such a valuable tool that I was like, oh my goodness. And then the market closed down, and then the Monday, last market was on a Saturday. On the Monday, it was announced that all large gatherings had to stop because of COVID. And we were like, that's my answer. That is what our stallholders, our 100-odd businesses, they had 3 months to prepare for COVID. That's what we were given. We were given 3 months to prepare. I know. And it's like, what a gift. I could suddenly see it rather than, because at first I totally felt the victim and this is happening to me. This is unfair. And at the end, I thought, what a gift that we could give this to all our businesses. They had time to, and so many of them had already transitioned to online. That was their next step. No, we want to go online. And that forced them to go online where they hadn't been. And so it was just like one of those just magical things in hindsight. and it just showed me, so this sunrise just becomes such a part of my life. And yes, I had a 20,000 day with ease that I got to learn so much from that during that process. And it's just become something that I can't imagine not doing, because it starts like I journal now daily. Journaling's so important for me because it gets rid of all my negative doubts. It's the best way I know to get rid of all the negative doubts, worries, concerns. I move into gratitude and love. Likewise, I can't imagine not doing my sunrise activations because they connect me into my heart. And they've evolved, they've changed over the times. I've added some more elements into it. But most of all, they connect me to my heart. They connect me to the body and the earth and the cosmos. And it's like, who doesn't want to start their day like that?
Oh my God, magical. You would make me want to start my sunrise quest as well. In my little tiny backyard, even though I don't always see the sun, but I just want to do it. It's just like, oh my God, right? And for those of you that don't understand, that watching the show, you don't understand the magic of connecting to earth. It's just that sense of release. It's almost like when I had a shitty day, the first thing I do is I get everything off. Well, probably not my clothes, but I get my bags off, get my shoes off. I run into my backyard and I just lay on grass. That's like the best feeling. You feel like all your tension, all your stress, all your worry, just let it go. And it's almost like the way that I see it, it's an evolving circle, right? We feed back and appreciate earth, and earth would then in return give us the energy that we need and the guidance that we need. And it's just like, so magical.
It is. And so often I'll get, so there's all those physical things of just going, and you just feel so supported. I feel loved. I'm in my heart. Everything's beautiful. And then sometimes I just get amazing answers come through. Do this next. I get these little insights drop in. So there's just wisdom that comes in that, you just go, I don't know where that came from, but thank you. I'll go write that post or whatever it is. Yeah.
And it's really one of those things you have to experience it to know what it's like, isn't it, Wendy?
Totally.
And how is this linked in to being the Empress?
How Empress, the Empress, okay, so the Empress self that I've claimed, yeah, as Empress Wendy Jasper, it was a name I self-ordained myself, and it came from that I see. Oh, first of all, the Empress, I see, like, a lot of people are like, I'm a queen or I'm a princess, and I never connected with those names. Partly because I was very much tomboyish, and I don't know, there was a frou-frou to them that I didn't connect to. But it's like, what's a feminine power that I do connect? Because it was something I quite consciously went after, trying to connect with my feminine, because I was very masculine. I'd been working in different careers. I was very good at being masculine and pushing and hustling. So connecting with my feminine was a new thing for me. How to soften, how to open my heart. And I was trying to find a feminine archetype that inspired me, that called me forth. And the Empress came, for two reasons. One, because she was self-made. She wasn't born a queen or born a princess. She was and it wasn't married to become that. She was self-made. She built an empire. But the thing I see as an Empress is she masters herself before she masters her empire, of self-mastery. And the way I came is, I always say that a business journey is the most perfectly tailored self-growth journey you'll ever go on. Because to succeed in business, you have to grow yourself. You can't evolve. You can get a business that's not fun and like you're going to be exhausted and stressed, but to have a business that you love, to have a business that's successful, you've got to grow yourself. You've got to step out of your comfort zone. It's going to demand that you grow and evolve. That's part of the journey. And so the way I used to see it was, you'd have your business journey. That's one route. It's like, you've got to do this. You've got to sell this many widgets. You've got to, promote yourself in this way. You've got to do this. And then you're going to have your successful business. But there's also that self-growth journey. And I called her the Empress journey. It's the journey to become your Empress self. And she's the one that's managing the multiple 6 or 7 figure business, she's your future self that's managing a multiple 6 or 7 figure business. So I started to tune into her more. Okay, Empress Wendy, what do you do? What are your habits? What things do you do? And this is where sunrises became really clear, is when I started having this, sunrise activation. Oh my goodness, Empress Wendy does sunrise activations. That's exactly what she does. Like, it was just instantly and no question about it. When I tuned into my Empress self, she was doing them. And a lot of things I've tuned into her, and it's how I guide myself. It's like, would she be doing that? Yes. Would she be doing that? No. Okay, then. It's the answer. It's really clear, and I've created a really good connection with her. And so I know straight away whether she would do it or not. And it's like, I don't have to do it. No one's forcing me. But if I want that future, I want that dream, because, she's not just running that successful business. She's having a great marriage. She's being a great mum. She's having a great life. She's being, I see Empress as creative. She's being a creatrix, all these things. And so she's got the answers for me. I can choose to listen or not, but she has the answers. So that's why I claimed it. Empress Wendy was helping me to step into that energy more and reminding me that's the journey I'm really on. Yes, there's the business journey, but the true journey is the Empress journey.
That is so beautiful. There was a saying that I heard when I first started this whole personal development / business journey. A coach once said to me that a business can never outgrow the psychology of the owners. So if we don't grow, our business will not grow. And I think what you just said is a testament of that. So kudos to you. You mentioned about that you were quite a tomboy and quite masculine. And so how does Empress Wendy find her balance between the masculinity of doing and the feminine of flowing these days?
Yeah, it's yeah, well, because I hit a burnout in my business, in my market and pop-up village. I hit a burnout at one point. I hit a wall big time because I was pushing, about going 5 years back now. And I had health issues come up, and I was like, I hit a wall big time, and I burned out because I was using my masculine to push and push and push more. And I burnt out. And like most things, when this pendulum swings too far one way, we go too far the other way. And I threw out, like, I was the queen of to-do list, of planning, of structures. I was so good at it. I threw it all out and went with, what do I feel like? What do I feel like today? What do I feel like now? And on one hand, it was so healing and I needed that. But it got to a point where it was like, well, this isn't very productive. And it actually wasn't very satisfying. Yeah, it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't doing it for me, because it's like, when I just went what I felt like, I often done, oh, yeah, I guess that. Or when I gave myself full permission, like we think, if I had a month just to myself, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do this. And if COVID showed us nothing else, most people didn't do any of those things during lockdown. Most people would watch TV, fluffed around, spent too much time on social media. And that's what I did when I allowed myself to do whatever I feel like. I just went flat and fluffed. That's the word I use. I just fluffed. And occasionally I'd do something because maybe a deadline would come up, go, oh, yeah, I feel like doing that now. But it wasn't satisfying. And so I went through this thing for a while going, well, I don't want to go back to that, push at all costs. And I went, okay, so what's the balance? And that's where I found a balance in the middle. I found the middle ground. It's like, because when I was being the masculine, I threw away my feminine. And that's why I burnt out, because I wasn't taking care of my needs, my health and well-being. And when I became fully feminine and did that sort of trying to just run my business, I lost structure. So I lost forward momentum. And when I lost forward momentum, I didn't finish the day and go, that was a good day. I felt really good and I achieved that. I had no sense of achievement. It was always just the bare minimum and it just didn't feel good and things weren't getting done. And yeah, it wasn't fun. So neither of the extremes were fun. And so that's where I came sort of into the center of going, okay, what's the structure? Using like honoring my masculine self has skills that are good for me, has tools that help me. So honoring them, but just not let them dominate, and honoring them that they're good for structure. So we can do some planning and we're going to figure out some stuff for this week. And then my feminine can then decide on the day which one did I feel like, or which one, I sort of create those containers that my feminine then can free flow within, but there's still a container. So there's still things, accountability that are going to get done. And this needs to happen. And sometimes it might be, okay, I'm going to do that tomorrow, but it's not going to be like, I don't feel like any of that for the next 3 weeks. I know it's happening this week. It's got to happen this week. So if it's not today, and that's also where I use my soul modes. Thank you, Carly Marie. It's definitely where I tap into, soul modes is, well, if I'm in bear, I mightn't be getting stuff. And I know tomorrow I'm going to be in super and I'm going to love doing that because that's lists and ticking off. So I allow myself to know that tomorrow I'll feel like doing it. I know I will, and let myself do different things today. Yeah.
And that really it totally, because for all the guests coming on, I've offered them to do their top 5 strengths finder. When Wendy's one come out, I'm just like, that is so interesting. But what you just said really explains it, because I could see why you were successful in creating a business. So I'm just going to share your top 5 strengths: strategic, achiever, input, ideation, and futuristic. So I can see futuristic is like that feminine of you that just want to create massive things. Same as ideation, there's just ideas everywhere. But then you've also got that strategic self, the achiever self. In reality, you would be very successful in a corporate career. But at the same time,
and I got to say, in my defense, there have a couple of times I've jumped out of being an entrepreneur and gone to corporate, and I have been successful and I got paid well. But in the end, it's like I'm just too... I couldn't be creative in my role. That's generally what I found. I couldn't be creative enough. I wasn't given freedom to do it the way I saw they had. There's too many. It was always too much structure. It was too much structure. But and often it's in a very old men way. This is how we do things, And I was just like, no, it's not. And I could see, because going to the future, my future, I could see how it should be. And I'd get frustrated that it wasn't like that. And they wouldn't let me evolve it to that. I could see that's, look, the amount of things I can walk into, I can see how it needs to be to thrive. That's definitely one of my gifts. I can go into business and go, if you just tweaked these things, you'll be going off the roof. You can see the tweaks. And when I wasn't allowed to do the tweaks, and I knew that they were the tweaks that would mean that this, whether it was a department or whatever, would thrive, and they wouldn't let me. It's like, no.
I can see that struggle. I did though, I think this was back a couple months ago, you had a post about how you see masculine and feminine in a relationship. It's like a river. The masculine is the riverbank and the feminine is the water. Without the riverbank, we just have flood everywhere.
Totally. And that's what I was doing with my fluffing. I'd got rid of my structure. And initially I was over structured. So it wasn't even a river. It was here, then it was going here, then it was going here, then it was going here. It was like structured. And then I got rid of all structure, and that's what it's like. It was a feminine being when we don't have, I'm talking core feminine being, not male, female, core feminine being. When we don't have something holding us, we do flood. I'm going over here. And especially you can often tell it yourself as an entrepreneur, because you go, oh, look at this bright, shiny object. Let's try this strategy. Oh, look at that bright, shiny object. Let's try that. If you're getting distracted by all these things, that's very much very in your feminine, because you've got no boundaries. You've got no thing that holding it. It's like the bare minimum boundaries so you can get movement forward. Because if you're not having a structure to help you forward, you're going to go off in every direction. You're not being GPS. Your structure is also like your GPS. It's going, this is where you're going, and it's like blinkers on. You're going this way. Oh, but no, we're going this way. Yeah, because the feminine, I love it all. I want it all. So
and that's pretty much your generator as well. Like being a generator for me as well, especially I think ideas, and that's why I love Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. Right, it's talk about the more you activate your idea system, the more ideas come, because ideas love attach themselves to creative beings that takes action. But part of
they know we'll bring them to life. They know if they come to us, we can bring them to life. Yeah.
We'll kind of say ideas. I know you're very keen, but I may have to pass you on to someone else in this instance. Otherwise, no ideas will come true. And I think that's the magic of having that riverbank. So then we can actually deliver what lights us up, and then we can move on to the next riverbank.
Yeah. Totally. And there, and look, so much of my life is saying no to ideas. It's like, thank you, I'll explore it for a while, and then going, actually, no, I'll let you go now, and there is a lot of that. Like that book was life-changing for me on that exact concept, and learning how to say no to ideas, because they could take up so much of my energy and I'd get excited, but it's like, actually, this isn't where I'm going. This isn't where I'm focused. I'm here to write my book. Like the amount of things that have come up distracted me from writing my book. Yeah. It's definitely.
Tell me more about this book.
Okay, so it's Abundant Artist, the 12 Codes for the Recovering Starving Artist. And I say, what recovering starving artist, because that's the name that, unfortunately artists have been given for I don't know, decades, how long? And
forever.
Yeah. And when you have not just maybe family thinking that, artists are seen less. So when you have society, cultures, and it's not just one country, it's the world seeing artists, so much of the world seeing artists as less than, there are obviously some cultures where they're valued, but generally Western world has seen artists as lower than starving artists. You do an arts degree, you're going to end up working McDonald's, driving a taxi. It's not valued. Yet on the other hand, it's like, so there's a starving artist is fact. Then on the other hand, you look at who's paid most in the world. It's the actors, the musicians, the dancers, all the top artists, top composers, painters, whatever. The top ones are the ones that are paid the absolute most. So it seems like it's like this huge, you've got the absolute poverty, or just ridiculous how many millions for performing in a film, for 1 year's work, and you've got, 12 million. It's like the extreme. And really, I see if you're creating a business, if you're entrepreneurial, that's creative. That's using your creativity. It's the same skills. And so what I saw, the blessing of working with creatives for 10 years in my business, in my brick and mortar business, was that I started to see after a while, I would have these new businesses come into the business and come in and start up their business. They're just starting up. And I started to be able to tell, I knew which ones would make it or not. Now, at first, I couldn't say why. It's like, I think they're going to make it. I don't think they're going to make it. And I have a couple of conversations and I'd have this assumption. I'm like, why do I think that? Like, why, Wendy? You'd be arrogant. You think, no, I've seen enough now. I know they're not and they will. And I was pretty accurate, because we had an unusual business model that our sign of success was when a business would leave the market and go on to full-time retail, have a retail shop or exporting or wholesaling. And so we'd have a lot that would do that, would come through, use us, and then go off to the next step in their journey. And I knew which ones would would do that and which wouldn't be around for so long. And so that took me much longer to actually figure out what the things were. And we've touched on it already. There was three main things that I saw. There's three main areas. The ones that succeeded equally focused on three main areas. And one is, it's the how, the who, and the do. And the how is, what method they're going to choose. Because so many people go, oh, I want to be a painter. Okay, I'll have an exhibition. They just think, in order for me to sell my product, I've got to do X, Y, Z. Whereas actually there's hundreds of ways you can make a living from painting, like hundreds. And it's exploring and finding the how that works for you, the how that's right for you. And so just not choosing a method to make your product and selling it, but finding one that's aligned with you, that, because the bottom line is, the journey is, you've got to enjoy the journey. It's not the destination, it's loving the journey. So how do you find a method that you love doing day after day, showing up and doing? So that's the first. They find a method that they love and is aligned with them. The second is the do, which is the who, which is what we're talking about before. It's who you're being. It's equally going to be the Empress journey as well as the business journey. And people who can see that and they get that they've got to be evolving. And sometimes it can be mindset. Okay, I've got to block around this. Or sometimes it could just be a practical skill. I've got to learn figures. I've got to learn how to do my books. And for creatives, you so often hear, oh, but I'm creative. I'm not into figures. I'm not into finances. And I'm like, I call BS. You just have to listen. You just, like when you first got a paintbrush, you didn't understand the technicalities of one paintbrush to a different paintbrush, or which hair or which size or flat or round. It's the same stuff. It's just something you haven't learned yet. And once you learn it, you go, oh, yeah, I know that. It doesn't have to be your passion, but it's just a part of technicality of doing it. And so you saw the ones who were thriving, they got it, that there were just certain skills they had to learn along the way. And they didn't go, oh, but I can't. I'm an artist. I'm this. They didn't use these excuses. They just went, if I want to be really successful, I've got to learn these skills. And then the third part was the doing, which is what we've also touched on, which is like the masculine and feminine. It's like, how do you show up every day taking action, and taking that action forward, inspired action forward daily. That's what I say. How do you take that inspired action forward daily towards your goals? Because a lot of people, they've got the skills, they're doing themselves, but they don't have the motivation. They're not moving forward on it. They don't have the support, the structure, the tools to continually move forward. And they're just fluffing and distracting self and all those things. And, resistance is coming up, all this stuff. And they're not having the tools to work through it, which is why I also, probably like you, have a coach, because she helps me through those things so much quicker. Yes, I can do it on my own, but having a coach is like fast track.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what the book is basically, for creatives to go, if you want to be successful as a creative, and successful could be having, 60,000 a year income, but just working 3 hours a day while your little kid's at preschool. It doesn't have to mean exhausting, pushing, huge business. Whatever business is ideal for you, there's so many different business models that can work for you, but it's finding one that you love, lights you up, and then working on yourself and working on those structures to make sure you can take in consistent action towards it. Just tiny steps, but daily. And so that's what the book is. And each of those, 3 areas have 4 codes in them, because there's 4 parts to them that need to be nailed. And so as you read the book, it's like you're doing an audit on yourself. It's going, oh, which code have I totally thrown out the window like irrelevant? I was going, that's irrelevant. Okay, that's giving me something to look at. And which ones have I mastered, or which ones am I doing but not doing very well, and need to initiate, okay, I need to give some more love to this area. So it's not just information that you're getting, but you can really apply it to yourself and your business, so you can figure out this is where I need to be giving love to.
I am so excited for you. It sounds like an amazing book. I can't wait to buy it when it's on the shelf. So make sure you let us know when it's out. I'm sure you will.
I'm knowing about it. I'm hoping to get my submission off to I am getting my submission off to the publisher within the next 3-4 weeks. So that's like, I'm really close to, nearly finished it. Then I get it edited, and then I get it off.
Oh my God, so exciting. So exciting. So last question, where can we find you? How can we work with you? How can we find out more about Wendy?
So Wendy Jasper, Abundant Artist on the socials. So currently, on Instagram and Facebook. I am going to be moving on to YouTube. And I've got my podcast, which is called Abundant Artist Podcast. And you can find that on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast.
All major platforms.
Yep, on all the platforms. And then I have the Abundant Artist Academy, which is it's a monthly membership, and pretty much every week we do one live training on one of the Abundant Artist codes. So it's broken up. So we said 4 codes, and then there's 4 parts to each code. So each week we do a 45 to 60 minute, live training on actually how to implement it into your business, not just the knowledge, because knowledge is one thing, but I want you to be taking action. And I want you to see why you're not taking action is just as important as taking action. So we really implement it. And it's, the idea that you come along for as long as you want, or as little as you want, you get what you want. And there's a pile of masterclasses already in there too, so you can dive into those. And and that's a low price membership, and all the information, I'll go onto either of my Instagram or Facebook, and all the links are there.
And I'll be sharing all of your links in the broadcasting as well. So you can simply click down the bottom and you'll be able to find Wendy's links down the bottom. Wendy's, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know it is still a bit early for both of us. And I had so much fun. It's such a blast to have a conversation with you like this, and hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
I know, get to do it in person, hopefully.
Well, I'm really hoping the border will open the other way around and I don't have to isolate for 14 days, because I haven't seen my mum for more than 2 years. My brother,
because I can get into Australia, but we can't get back. I know, we're the same. I've got elderly parents and parent-in-laws, and we want to come and visit them. It's been a long year not being able to see them.
Hopefully we can see each other one way or another.
Yeah. I know. And as you said at the start, it's amazing how these days you can meet people online like yourself who you just connect with, who you go, soul sister, you get that bond. And it's so beautiful, because I know when we do connect in person, it's going to be like we've been best friends for years.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've got that energy going. And it's something I used to bag social media out, that, oh my goodness, they're not real friends, they're just virtual friends. But now I realize, you are my real friends and you're amazing. And it just gets better when we meet in person.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I am so grateful for this being my first interviewee. And everybody check Wendy out, and I will see you next time. Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, everyone. Bye.